Good morning. Do you ever say things that you wish you could take back? Like seriously wish you could just bring them right back in? When I studied Bible and theology out in California, one morning I went in and it was a homiletics class, like homily, so it's preaching. And we had a chance to, different students would preach. Most of the time it was just a really brief, 5 minutes message, but it had to have an intro, 3 points, and a conclusion. If you had that, then you get a good grade. It didn't have to make any sense, but if you had those elements, you did well. And the other days, the professor lectured. And so this one morning I go in, and across the hall from the classroom is the men's room. I go in there, I see one of my friends who's in the class. I'm just like, hey, who's preaching today? You know, which one of us? I know it's not me, is it him? Who's preaching today? And he says, oh, nobody. So Brother Colombo's lecturing today. And I go, oh, stink. And then he gives me this look, and I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh my goodness, Brother Colombo is standing right behind me. Well, the really bad thing was, I didn't mean it. I don't know why it came out of my mouth. It was totally inauthentic. I appreciated his lecturing more than some of these lame 5-minute messages that I heard from some of my fellow students. But I just kind of said something that I thought would be funny, or I don't know. I wish I could have taken it back. So I went in, sat through class, sat through his lecture, and afterwards I went up and I just had to apologize. And he was very kind and gracious and said, oh, like he didn't think anything of it. But how couldn't he? I mean, it was brutal on my part. I've been reading Bob Goff's book, Live in Grace, Walk in Love, and he has a fun thing in here. He says the world doesn't need a copy of someone else. I think sometimes we're trying to be somebody else, something that we're not. He says it needs you. That's cool. And then he quotes Psalm 139, verse 13, you created me, meaning you, Lord, created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. When your life's over, God's not going to say, why weren't you Mother Teresa? He's going to ask you, why weren't you Russ Munson? Why weren't you Jim LeBourne? Why weren't you Linda Vitt? Why weren't you the person that I created you to be? There's only one you. He tells the story that a friend had a parrot, and when they were young, he used to love going over there because he liked birds, but he said the parrot could talk. And of course, this young man taught the parrot to say things that he should not have taught the parrot to say, which was just all the more fun when the parrot would say these things. But he said he just had this fascination, but if the bird is smart enough to repeat what I'm saying, he wanted to know, what was the bird really thinking? But instead, the parrot just parroted the things that he heard. That's the way I felt with Brother Colombo that day. Do you ever feel that way? Like you're just saying what you're saying because you think that's what you're supposed to do. Can I just give you a helpful suggestion? Don't. Be authentic. Be real. Let God do a work within you, and then let the things that come out of your mouth be an honest expression of who you are. I'm not saying don't use a filter. I'm not saying just say everything to everybody, but be you. Not to the point where you're more special than everybody else on the planet. They're special too. But be the person that God created you to be, because nobody else can take your part. Nobody else can play your role except you. The world needs you. Have a great day.